Cheers, big ears, and welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts, Leanne.
And I'm Lyle.
And we are not your usual travel influencers. No, we've decided we want to be travellers that travel under the influence. Okay, good joke?
Reasonable.
Well, there's plenty of more where that come from. So join us as we travel the world, one wine at a time. Hola, mi amor.
Buenos dias.
What about Leonita?
Leonita. Buenos dias, Leonita.
Oh, that was going to stick. Oh, no. Today we are doing a bit of a different format podcast because I put a question out earlier about, for people to ask us questions about our trip, and so we thought we'll answer some of those today. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is the cost. Now, we've got a few different questions, so we sort of put them all into one group about the cost. Like, people want to know, the overall of how much it costs, and where was the cheapest place, and did you need cash, and so lots of little questions about and these are from people that are obviously heading off to Spain soon. So why don't we start with how much it costs? And what I'd like to say is, remember, we haven't been overseas for a few years because of COVID, so we've been sort of planning and saving up. We didn't make big purchases through COVID like lots of people, they did renovations and stuff. So, we were prepared to spend a bit of money this time to have a really nice holiday. So so listen to what it costs, and then we'll explain some of the decisions that we made in making those travel decisions. So go ahead, Lyle. Here's the numbers, man. We love your numbers.
Okay. The total cost per day, including everything, and that includes, our airfares, our insurance, basically the whole shebang.
All our transport, all our transports, food, all our tours, absolutely everything you can imagine.
Yeah, came out to about $413 for both of us per day.
That's Australian dollars.
Yeah, Australian dollars.
Which brings it back to what, about €300 a day, is it?
Yeah, about €300 or probably about $300 American dollars,
sure,
I suppose.
Yeah, and that's for two people.
That's for two people. The accommodation averaged out $202 Australian. Now, that seems a bit dear. But really it's not, because the locations that we picked were perfect each time.
And as I said, that is Australian dollars, which, comes back to, we'll have to do the conversion.
About 125.
Yeah, so 125 American dollars or euros.
Euros,
so, yeah. When you put it in those terms, it's pretty good. So, not normally, we had a budget of roughly $500 a day. And the other thing you've got to realise in that expense is, from us to fly from Australia to Europe is a long haul flight, and our cost was about 5,200 Australian dollars for return flights to Europe, wasn't it? So that's probably, if you're travelling from anywhere closer, it's not going to cost you that much. And they were extra legroom seats as well. I think it was about 3,800 just for economy seats.
Correct.
This is flying with Emirates.
And 1,400 for the extra room.
Yes, we paid for the extra. Now, we believe that's a good investment. See or not?
Yeah, for sure.
For us, yeah. So they're just things that, you might not need to take into account when you're flying. And if you're lucky enough to be able to afford business, well, good on you. That's my next goal anyway. So, yeah, so that's everything. So, yeah, we budgeted about $500 a day. So, if we're going away for that amount of time, that's what it's going to cost.
Yeah, the accommodation, I think I said, was $202 per night. And as I said, I think that was reasonable because everywhere we stayed was perfect. The location, we were close to things. I think that too, maybe the Spanish in general do put a premium on the accommodation because they know that most of the people that are staying are tourists. So,
well, that's one of the questions we got about, like planning where we stayed. So I'm going to answer, talk about, where we stayed in the next question. But yeah, they, and you'll understand why they were a bit more expensive. So Lyle, was there much difference? That was the other question. Where's the cheapest place to stay? Was a few people wanted to know.
Okay, well, the cheapest place to stay was when we only stayed there for one night, which was Toledo. $108 Australian. That's cheap.
Yeah, we did book it at the last minute though. So whether it was always that price, it was a Sunday night. So. But yeah, it seemed to be pretty full in Toledo. So,
well, the other place that I felt I was really surprised with how cheap it was Salamanca, $116 Australian a night. We were there for 7 nights.
And we had a great apartment too.
Great apartment, had a little patio out the back, private patio, courtyard, 2 bedrooms. Yeah. It was excellent. Yeah, $118. That's crazy.
So what about? So we went from north to south. That's what people sort of were asking us as well. So would you say it's cheaper in south of Spain, down the Costa del Sol, or because the north of Spain is known as being expensive. So what did the figures come out as?
Oh, that's a bit unfair. Because Santander was probably the most expensive, which was $270 Australian dollars a night. But in saying that, it was basically a 4-star hotel.
Well, it was a very busy week.
Yeah, and we had that Semana Grande.
Yeah, so it was hard to get accommodation. What about food, though? Was that...
food, pretty much, we spent per day $114 Australian. That's for 2 of us.
Right.
So really...
And we're just going to say straight out here, we did no cooking whatsoever.
No, we went out every night.
For 11 weeks. So 9 weeks in Spain. So we went out every night, but we also ate lunch out, or breakfast, so and we drank wine every day.
Let's be frank. Yeah. We loved a drink. So look, that would include, if we had breakfast, we didn't have lunch.
Yeah.
If we had lunch, we didn't have breakfast, but we went out every night. And most nights we probably shared an entree and 2 mains, and sometimes shared a dessert and a bottle of wine.
But then sometimes we had free tapas too.
Oh yeah.
So it did, and I guess if you're asking where the cheapest place in Spain is, the free tapas is more prevalent in
Andalusia.
Andalusia, right? Down the south of Spain.
Yeah.
So it's you can go out and at least have half a meal for free.
Yeah. Look, generally, if you put it down to a beer, like a 200ml beer, you're looking at about $1.80. €1.80.
Yeah.
If you go to Dobla, which is what they call it in certain parts of Spain, which is pretty much twice what the Canya is, which is the 200ml, you're looking at about $2.80. It's cheap. Cheap.
And that's the same sort of all over.
Yeah, and probably for a glass of wine, you're looking at anything between €2.80 and €3, which is fabulous value. Depending, Seville was a little bit dearer than that, but we were staying in a 5-star hotel, rooftop bar. They had a 20% surcharge because it was a rooftop bar. But generally, I think that the food and the drinks are cheap.
Yeah, all over Spain.
All over Spain. And the quality is excellent of both. So,
and you can go to a little supermarket like we did in like, say, Nerja, down the Costa del Sol, and buy a bottle of wine from anything from €4 upwards for a whole bottle.
That's really cheap.
And if you know that you're buying a Verdejo from La Rueda, it's going to be a nice bottle of wine, right?
Yeah. You can check the label, and they have
ratings and things like that.
And we won't go into
that. About that another time.
But you can pretty much you know what you're getting if you know how to read the labels.
So you could definitely do it cheaper than what we did. We don't go out and think, oh, we've got to eat cheap tonight. And sometimes we just want to sit at a restaurant and have a nice meal and not even think about, what tapas we want to order, or we get a bit.
Well, alternatively, we did go out and we sort of got a little bit sick of
poor us going out,
the pork, especially down south. But we went to a couple of restaurants out of town,
out of the main tourist areas, in the old towns. We found little
so. Dropped the price by 30% straight away.
Right. So if you go out of the old town, say that was in Salamanca, and that was up north in Oviedo as well.
And Santander.
Yeah, we found like little Thai or Japanese Asian restaurants that were Chinese.
Yeah, Santander, which was probably the most expensive place we stayed, and for various reasons. But we went to a Japanese restaurant there 2 nights in a row because it was that good. And it was €49 for the night for dinner
we had
and
two
wine.
Entrees,
two mains, and shared a dessert and a bottle of wine for €49.
Yeah.
So,
that's what it cost you for a nice bottle of wine in an Australian restaurant.
Probably.
Yeah.
And the food was outstanding.
So we, it was interesting because, Lyle did the same thing when we went to Spain in 2019. And we thought, maybe the costs have gone up a lot, but, it actually came out like almost similar per day, didn't it?
Yeah, it was about $10 different.
Yeah, so you could do it a lot cheaper than what we do it. If you we had apartments, you could cook, certainly. If you didn't want to drink every day, or you made your own breakfast and that sort of stuff, you could, if you want to.
I'm not sure why you'd want to not have a drink, but, each their own.
Some people save money, although... and you could stay in places that were further away from, the cities and stuff. So I'll talk about that in a minute as well. And we did all public transport as well. So that's another thing we're going to talk about in a sec. So one other thing about the cost and money and that sort of stuff is we've been asked about, do you need credit cards and cash, and how much cash you should take. And look, the whole trip we used a Visa debit card. It's an ING Visa debit card. So ING is an international company. In fact, they had some branches they had a branch in one of the places we went, Santander, wasn't it? No, Oviedo. Yeah. And we were able to use that. I used that same card booking accommodation through booking.com. I used that card booking all the transport through another app that I use, and we even to put a deposit at one of the hotels, we use that. We use that 100% of the time. The only place would only happen once where
Caceres.
Yes, that's right, Caceres, where we could not use that card because two drinks were under €5.
Yeah.
They didn't accept a card under €5. That was the only place in the whole 9 weeks in Spain. Now I've been somewhere and just bought a €80 cup of coffee, and you use your card, and they don't even blink an eyelid. That's normal. You just tap. And the only time we needed cash, and we did have a few euros, and so we did use them because we had them. But the only time they didn't take card was on the local bus when we were doing a little bus trip in the south of Spain, doing a day trip, and it was about €4, and they wanted cash, which we had, but we only had a €20 note. They were not happy. So
it was actually $1.20.
Oh, was it?
Oh, sorry, €1.20 per person. So, and that was
that's one way. So I think it was $4.80 or something.
Probably.
Yeah, right. So, sure, take a few euro, but get some small denominations for if you're going to be hopping on local buses and that sort of thing. But everywhere else, you were able to use card. The most authentic little Spanish bars, you think, they're not going to take card. Well, they do. And I guess that's maybe something they've introduced since COVID as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's because they did, it's very they're very focused on, no touchy, even with the accommodation, as you can explain later.
Yeah, okay. You might have to explain what I'm explaining later.
But basically it's keyless, like there's no contact.
Yeah, okay. With the apartments and things.
Excuse me, yeah.
Right, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so maybe take some euro if you prefer to use cash, but you certainly don't need it, and you feel a lot safer if you're not carrying around wads of cash with you anyway. The ING Visa debit card, they actually refund any international transaction fees that you pay. And here's another tip about money, and it will be sometimes when you're paying with a card, you get the choice to choose euro or your local currency. So it would show you how much the euro was and how much the Australian dollar was for us. Now, if when you come across that, when you're in Spain, always choose the euro. It's always less. And I took notice of what the amount was, and one of them was, when we were paying accommodation, was about 2,000 Australian dollars. And then when I went into my account, because I'd chosen the euro, the amount that came out in Australian dollars was about $200 less than the amount that if I'd have chosen that on the machine. So, that's just a really good hint. So it's about 5% less if you choose the euro, right?
Yeah, so I think... Yeah, that bill might have been about $4,000.
No, this was in Santander. There was one.
Oh, okay.
There was one also in Neha, exactly. And that saves about 5% on. And when you're paying for 3 weeks accommodation, it was 4,000 Australian dollars. That's a lot of money, right?
Sure.
It was a couple of $100 that better off in our pocket. So
yeah.
So is there anything else about the money? I think we've told how much it costs. The cards that we used, how much cash you need, all that sort of stuff. There wasn't one thing that stood out that was expensive or cheap. It's Spain generally is cheap.
Yeah, very much so, especially for alcohol and food. There's just absolutely no question. Yeah. Some of the tours were a bit dearer.
Yeah.
But again, I think because they're focused on tourists, they make it a bit more expensive.
And we booked them while we were there as well, so I didn't sort of shop around. We made the decision to book those pretty well straight away, so that was more a convenience thing.
Sure.
So if you have any other questions, if we haven't answered those questions that we had coming in, just send us an email or message us, because we're happy to tell you what everything costs. We don't need to hold anything back there. If we can help you plan your budget for your trip, we'd love to help. So the next group of questions that we got asked about was, how do we plan our trip? How do we know where to stay? How do we get around? And rather than sort of do all those individually as well, I thought it was probably best to group those, because we sort of have a bit of a process, don't we? So, and when I say we, it's me, and I run it past Lyle. What do you think? And he's said, looks good, Dom. We'll go with that. But that's not 100% true. We do have a bit of an outline. Like one of the things. Well, this is our third trip to Spain, and so this time we wanted to go places that we hadn't been before, or places that we felt that we probably need to give a little bit more time to, one being Madrid and one being Seville, right? And so then we worked out, and there's another couple of places that we'd sort of seen on travel shows that we wanted to go to, and, we're basically going from north to south, and so we decided we'd go south first and finish in north because of the way the summer is over there. So it's cooler up north in Spain, and so the later we're in the north, it was going to be warmer for us. That was sort of the thinking behind that. We generally like to stay about a week in a place. Sometimes it's 3-4 days. We divide it up depending on how big it is, how long what's to do there. And this time we actually had 3 weeks in one place because we just wanted to chill and relax and, just get in the Spanish lifestyle sort of mood. And we both really loved that, didn't we?
That was fabulous.
And so the way we choose where we're going to stay, as I said, this time it was, okay, we've stayed there before, let's pick somewhere that, is different. But we also want to make sure we're close to transport, so if we want to do a day trip or just for getting to one place to the other, because we do all public transport. We never hire a car. We'll never hire a car. We will never drive. I hate driving in Australia. I'm a shocking passenger here. I just can't imagine how dramatic that would be, trying to drive on the other side of the road. Yeah, even watching the roundabouts from a bus was horrific, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We'd be like, oh my Lord, oh my... Anyway, so there's a couple of apps that I use. The main one for transport is called Rome to Rio, and it's Rome with the number 2, Rio. And you can put in where you're starting and where you want to go, and it'll come up with all the options, whether it's bus, train, plane, even share car stuff. And we decided, on our last trip and the trip before, that we don't want to travel more than about 3 to 4 hours max if possible, because otherwise it's your whole day. And 3 to 4 hours is doable, right, on a bus and on a train. So, you can figure that out pretty easily. And we tended to stick to that, didn't we?
Yeah, and I think too, just part of the reason it's so good, the 3 and 3.5 hours, whatever it is that both the trains and the buses have Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and air-conditioned free Wi-Fi and comfy,
Sure.
And honestly, they all seem to run on time. I mean, I've read articles where people say they don't, but for 9 weeks, every train,
every bus we got on left on the minute.
Yep.
Of what they said they were going to do.
Yeah. Sometimes you stand there, it's 10 minutes before, and everyone's standing outside the bus, and you think, we might be a bit late here, and then the bus driver turns up, and everyone's on, and off we go. They're absolutely... And that's the other thing, getting on and off public transport's so easy, as in... it's not a drama going through security, or, you just turn up, you've got your tickets. I bought all our tickets ahead of time, on an app, and that was it. So I used Rome to Rio to plan. You can buy some tickets through Rome to Rio, but the one app that I found the best to buy tickets through is called Omni, OMNI, and you set up your credit card with that, and you just buy tickets, and you can, they're there on your phone. If I bought a lot of them before we left, and I like to print them off because I'm a bit, old-fashioned like that. It was really handy to have them. So that was the best way for us to buy tickets.
Yeah, and just to butt in there, we did have mostly paper, but the couple of times where we didn't have paper on and we had to use the phone, the bus drivers were... it was no issue. They knew exactly what they were doing. I'm
scrolling through trying to find it.
Yeah, if you're scrolling through and you're confused or what, they'll actually take the phone off you and look for it because they know what they're looking for.
Yeah, they know.
So it was really pleasant.
Yeah, it was great. And there was one bus that I booked called Super Economy, and now I don't know if I did that on purpose or it was the only one available, but it was like a normal bus size, but it only had 3 seats across, so it had 2 on one side and 1 on the other, and so the seats were wide and had like a little screen. You could get on the internet there. It was like a very comfy, wasn't it, lounge chair. Yeah, so definitely recommend that if you get that opportunity.
Sure. And the other thing I think too is, Leonita, because you booked them so far in advance, because, before we left Australia, we seemed to jag the best seats on the bus.
Every time.
Yeah. The most room, it was really good.
I know a lot of people wait till they get there to do their transport. I'm a bit anxious travelling, so I like to have it done ahead, and I like to pick the time of day I want to travel, as well, because, and then you have more choice. But this summer in Europe, or especially in Spain, it was really busy, and there were some buses that we got on that were chock-a-block full, and you just think, wow, I'm so glad I bought tickets ahead of time. I think the days of just turning up and trying to snag a bus or train are probably not at the moment, what's right. Some of those buses were just...
Oh, Santander was a classic.
A couple of things, though, with the travel is we travelled on Sundays, and mostly that was good. But there were a couple of bus stations that on a Sunday there was not a office open, not a shop open, nada. And so if you were trying to turn up to buy tickets on a Sunday, you got no chance, really. And the bus driver, he don't care. If you haven't got your ticket, you're not getting on. He's not selling you tickets. And, and there's no screen to tell you if the bus is on, been delayed or anything. You just, it tells you that bus is coming to this platform and that's it. And so you literally just turn up, show the guy the ticket, and on your hop. There's no double checking or, there's no drama. So you need to be a little bit of, you only need to be there about half an hour before too. There's no need to be there 3 hours before.
There's people that turn up 10 minutes before, and there's no issue. Yeah,
no drama at all. So just think about that. And the other thing is, if you arrive on a Sunday in some of these smaller places like we did, you think there's going to be a taxi, and in some places there's just not a taxi. You've got to phone for a taxi if you want one. So just keep that in mind if you're going to some smaller places. It's can be a little bit tricky. Yeah. So the trains we used trains wherever possible. We sort of prefer the trains to buses, but there's some parts of places that we went where there's no trains. So the Renfe we use on the trains, and the Ave, which is the fast train. Now you can get from the middle of Spain in Madrid to Malaga in the south in under 3.5 hours, or around 3.5 hours. Brilliant. Yes, it's really fast, quick, easy. They do come around and check your tickets on that one though.
But they're so comfortable. The only way you know you're doing over 300 kilometres, well, two ways. One, you look up on the
screen,
your screen, and you can see how fast you're going. But when another fast train goes past you,
that's a bit scary.
You really feel it. But
so you just hop on the train. You pop your suitcase. They've got an area at the end of each carriage. Put your suitcase. You sit there and then you grab your suitcase and you get off. There's no waiting for checked luggage or anything. It's really really simple.
And I had a look. I googled this morning the price of the tickets on the fast train. Now these are from. So these are the cheapest tickets. So I think Leanne did book, it was like first class a couple of times, but basically about $32 Australian. Per person, or for our American listeners, it was about €49, which is about 49 American dollars for two. So it is so cheap.
Yeah,
and
I did pay more, but I did book ahead, and
So I can't believe how cheap the transport there is. But obviously. They're catering for the locals, and the locals don't get paid what we get paid. So,
and the bus company we use is ALSA, ALSA, and they do have their own app, which is in Spanish. You can translate it to English. However, there is a bit gets lost in translation. But as I said, 90% of the tickets I bought were on the Omni app, and I got most of our information about which tickets and what times and what days from Rome to Rio, and I would recommend those highly, and certainly I wouldn't wait until the day that you want to travel. I'd certainly try and book that ahead of time. That way you can choose the time of day you travel as well. So.
Yeah, and just one other thing to add from me, on no public transport, whether it be train, local bus, fast train, was there any obnoxious behaviour?
Oh, no.
Everybody is very respectful of everybody else's privacy. Like not once.
No, it was pleasant. It's a pleasant experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was great, and great scenery travelling through the countryside as well. That's another bonus.
Especially when we were going up north. So.
And quickly, you don't have to worry about parking. A lot of the places we stayed. There was no parking in those old cities, so you have to stay further out, and we like to walk everywhere. So, I for us, public transport's definitely how we like to do it. See or
And
not?
I think too the fact that we like to stay 7 days in a town. The fact that if you did hire a car, for us it'd be silly because probably three out of the 7 days the car would be just sitting there.
Sure, good point. Okay, thank you, Darwin, for that very interesting, addition to.
My pleasure, Leonita.
The last group of questions that we got were about where we stayed and accommodation and how we booked it and that sort of stuff. So we sort of have talked a little bit about it earlier in the podcast, that I use booking.com to find all our accommodation. Last time I went to Spain, there was a couple of places we used Airbnb. What I've found this time is a lot of people are now using, who have apartments in Spain, are using the booking.com platform. The booking.com platform and their app, for me, is the easiest to use. The other reason we use booking.com is you can find accommodation where you don't have to pay any money up front, and it is free cancellation generally up until sometimes the week before you go. Now, we were booking our holiday, months out. The borders were open. However, we've had holidays cancelled on us before.
Yeah, well, it wasn't right at the very end of, yes. Well, before even the COVID had finished, really, hadn't it?
So we were a bit wary, and you don't want to commit, hundreds, let alone thousands of dollars to accommodation. So that's and booking.com does that, whereas Airbnb, the best I could get was you pay half now, half later. And the other reason the booking.com app, I use it, is because it has all your accommodation there in one place. It's easy accessible. You can click straight away. It gives you directions to your accommodation. The other thing about it is I like to see exactly where the accommodation is. Now, Airbnb, and I haven't looked at it for a while, gives you a general area it's in, whereas you get the absolute direct address, and that's really important for when we're looking for accommodation. I want to know exactly where it is in relation to the main area of the city and where it is in relation to the transport. Now, in hindsight, the transport probably isn't as important because we came to the decision early on in our trip that we were just going to get a taxi from the bus or the train station to our accommodation. And if you're only a kilometre away, you should walk, but if you're walking uphill with a 23 kilogram suitcase with a dicky leg and you've got a dicky arm, it wasn't ideal. So
a dicky leg and a dicky arm. I'm not sure how listeners will.
I got a sore leg and Lyle's got a sore arm, so I'm hobbling and anyway. So it's much easier to hop in a taxi and pay the €10.
Yeah, which is generally what it is,
right? So that, even though that was one criteria, it wouldn't be the main one anymore. It's definitely location in comparison to where the main part of the old cities are in these towns, so we can walk. So because, as we said earlier, we go out to dinner every night, so we don't want to be walking, for 20-25 minutes each way, So that's the main thing. So booking.com will show you where they are on the map, and it'll show you where other properties are, and it will also show you the price of them. Now, when we stay a week, I like to book an apartment because you get like a separate bedroom, as in it's not in the same room as the TV, and it's not we like a one bedroom apartment because I like to get up earlier than Lyle, and I can make a cup of tea and I don't disturb him. And you get a bit more room. If you're travelling for like any length of time, it's nice to be able to put your things in a suitcase, in a wardrobe, unpack your toiletries, that sort of stuff. And apartments come with washing machines generally as well, so that's a bonus. I just love having a washing machine. And I also try and find a place that has outdoor space. So whether that's a balcony, or a courtyard, because the first thing I do when I get up is I like to open the doors and get fresh air and go outside.
And have a cup of tea.
And have a cup of tea. That's right. So that's an important thing for me. That's why I like apartments. Now, we learnt last time we had a couple of our last trip, not this one, a couple of disasters. That's probably a strong word. One place advertised that it was a studio apartment with city views and something, and so you assume that
rooftop bar.
Yeah, rooftop view.
Was it a bar?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And it turned out to be a garage, like converted, and had a bed and a TV and a shower and toilet, which was separated by a curtain in a little corner. And the power went out in that one, remember? So we didn't have aircon or anything. It was horrendous. The other thing we learnt last time is don't stay in a main sort of pedestrian area like in a plaza, because people walk through that plaza generally to get home from where they've been out, and on their way home they're not generally very quiet. And so it doesn't matter, wherever you go in Spain, whatever time of year, you are going to come across some nightlife, some festival going on that you have no idea. And some of these places are quite noisy, aren't they?
Yeah, I think too. If you can avoid the nightclub areas,
sure, yeah.
That's not dangerous at all, but
it's just noisy.
It's just noisy, and because they go out for dinner at 11 and from 11 to 1 o'clock in the morning, the nightclubs probably go till 5, and that's the other thing too with the nightclubs. They all use the soft drink bottles. Like the little, so I'd imagine at the end of the night they're all
clinking,
they're dumping their bottles into the industrial waste. So that'd be noisy. But we were, this time we had nothing like that.
No, and the other thing is if you've got a building that has stories in it, like we stayed in one place last time that had 4 floors and it didn't have a lift, so that was okay, but this time I made sure.
That's right. That was in Almeneca.
Yeah. So this time, just a couple little things to
78 steps there were.
So just a couple of things to take into account. So it's so nice to walk into an apartment. It's got a nice lounge area, a separate TV area, a little kitchen with all the stuff you need if you do want to cook, and even if it's just to make yourself a cup of tea or a sandwich, a washing machine. A bigger bathroom, toilet area, and a separate bedroom with mostly they had aircon as well. Although once you get up to North Spain, you're not really needing aircon. It's not that hot. So that's basically how we book our accommodation. And the other thing with Booking.com is, I've read some pretty horrific stories about people that have booked through other sort of accommodation places like Airbnb and some of the others, and the owners of these apartments just, all of a sudden just decide they don't want to let them out anymore. So they've, their bookings cancelled, whereas we've never had that issue with Booking.com. Now, staying in an apartment, you're generally staying with someone who's local, and I think I can just off the top of my head remember 3 apartments where the owners went above and beyond to help us with getting around, ringing taxis for us.
Yeah, they were great.
One of them has an apartment in Burgos, owned a winery, and he organised a tour for us to go to his winery, which was fabulous.
One of my highlights of the whole trip.
And the lady in Oviedo, she just sent me so much information about restaurants and was just delightful.
And the guy in Salamanca?
Yeah, that's the guy who ordered the taxi for us, and he actually came and checked us in, and just really, so you're still dealing with locals. I know a lot of people think Booking.com, it's just hotels and stuff, but it's not anymore. It's actually, we did stay in some hotels, and that's the other thing with our accommodation this time. It was a bit pricier because I decided we were going to, like the place we stayed for 3 weeks, we had a rooftop pool, that was extra, but we used that rooftop pool. It's only a little pool.
Every day.
We used it every day, right? And then when we stayed in Seville, we stayed right in the old town.
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, Santa Cruz. But you could actually see the cathedral from where we were, and it was a beautiful old palace that we stayed in.
Yeah.
Then we stayed in a parador, which is one of those buildings. Like a parador in Spain is like the government bought or built old buildings or built accommodation in places of significance. So we stayed in an old monastery in one place, and then also in
and actually that particular place, which was in Caceres, that was one of the cheaper places. Yeah, so, and it was 5-star.
Yeah, but then it's not. There was no English speakers there. It wasn't touristy, right? No. And then we found this gorgeous hotel in Aro, which was a monastery, was a jail, was a military hospital, and then it was accommodation. So we stayed in some...
And that was $214, and on average we spent about $200, so it wasn't that dear.
Yeah, but once again, that's just a small place, right? So it wasn't sort of too touristy. So we stayed in some amazing places. So Booking.com is great for doing research, for where the apartment is situated, and it shows you other apartments like that. So for us, it's about location. And walking, which is, really important, right?
I think another thing about Spain that you don't really think about is that I think in most cities in the world there's some pretty down parts of the city, or there can be. I know even in Australia that there's certain areas you wouldn't walk in the big cities, especially at night where the nightclubs are. But in Spain, you do not have that issue.
No. It just feels safe, doesn't it?
You just feel safe the whole time. You see nanas.
Well, everybody's out at night.
Everybody's out at night, from the toddlers through to, the abuelas,
out enjoying
the grandmothers.
That midnight blue sky and the golden buildings.
So you don't have that issue. So that whenever you do look at where you're going to book for accommodation, you don't have that issue as, is it going to be safe or it's not going to be safe? It's going to be safe.
I mean, there's also reviews,
Sure.
I do read some reviews, and then you go on and do a bit of research on the town and where it's located, and it doesn't take a lot to come up with places. And once again, we book all our accommodation before we go, and all our transport before we go, and then you have and then I print out the sheet from the accommodation. And when you hop in a taxi, you just show them the address, and they take you straight there. So it's a pretty good system, I have to say, even if I say so myself. See or not?
See.
Anything else about our accommodation?
No, but I'd just like to one thing.
You want to thank me for my hard work?
I do, Leonetta. But just to give you a bit of an idea. We did spend 4 days in Paris and 7 days in London before we got to Spain. Now, remembering that overall it was about 400 Australian dollars per day in Spain.
That's including flights and insurance.
Yeah, that's everything.
Everything, yeah.
Now, in Paris per day it was $670. In London, it was $755. So you can see the difference. Wow. Look, they're different towns. But in saying that, Madrid, which is the capital city of Spain, was $258 for the accommodation, which was right in the centre.
Accommodation or the whole thing? Accommodation.
Just accommodation. But I mean $100 per day for drinks and whatever. And we played pretty hard in Madrid, whereas the accommodation in Paris and London, which was the same chain, and this is by no means knocking Paris or London. I'm just trying to show the difference in price. They were $400 a night. So $400 a night compared to $258.
That's from That's from Paris and London compared to the
capital in Madrid,
right?
In Spain.
Right.
So that gives you a bit of an idea.
Yeah, it's about 30% less.
Yeah.
Yeah. More.
Oh yeah. Well, probably more like 40%.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty fair, fair call.
Yeah, because we're just talking about Spain. This with these questions, I guess. That's really interesting because, we did find London horrendously expensive. But you don't go if you can't afford it, right? That's exactly right.
Remember, we hadn't been away for a couple of years, so it didn't matter.
But that's really interesting. Yeah. So Spain is still.
I only just sort of when we were talking, I thought, I've got the information. I'll have a look.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I guess because it's so cheap, we'll probably go back then. ¿Sí o no? Por supuesto.
Por supuesto, of course.
All right. So if you have any questions or you want to go back over these figures, I might do some show notes, I might not. It sounds like a lot of typing with all those numbers. I might do a bit of a summary for you. You can go to our website, www.beachtravelwine.com, and you can see the places that we stayed. There's blog posts there, or you can go to our podcast, other podcast episodes from there as well. If you're more interested in what we saw while we were there, check out our Instagram at Beach Travel Wine or our Facebook at Beach Travel Wine, and or just send us a message on either of those platforms or email us at leanne@beachtravelwine.com, because we're happy to answer any questions and we'd love to encourage more people to go to Spain. Hey.
Sí.
Right. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.